The Wild Robot is a wild ride that I recommend to anyone who wants to give it a watch. I want to make a more artistic video review about it, but I'm not feeling artsy right now, so well, let's talk about the plot. It is about a robot that crashes smack dab into the outskirts of an island with no clue of why she is there. She was built for one purpose, accomplishing tasks for the benefit of humans, and this wilderness doesn't have any of those, and it's for the best, honestly. So she runs around interacting with animals and the wilderness, all in an attempt to find a task to accomplish, and in doing so a purpose for her existence. The animation really shines here, as she interacts with predators and prey in rain and shine, climbing, running, falling, and surviving. Every action is absolutely beautiful, especially in terms of Western films that are an entirely new IP. But looks aside, she finally makes a friend, a little gosling without a family to raise it. Realizing it needs a caretaker to prepare it for migration, she teams up with a fox voiced by Pedro Pascal, the man who is in absolutely everything, as they work to complete her hardest task yet, motherhood. The rest of the movie from here is predictable, sure, but although you can predict the ways that problems could be solved, the animals that assist with it, the bonds that are formed, and the lessons that are learned are the meat of it all. The harshness of the world isn't understated either, and that harshness seeping through separates this from the generic slop that it could have potentially become into something far, far more. The food chain is represented well, smartly using animals that we are accustomed to seeing as food, like crabs for example, as the casualties on screen, outlining it with humor and not drawing attention to the fact of their death out of respect for the children in the audience. Those scenes aren't the precedent though, because it has them alongside also having moments where death is handled seriously. Sure, it's not shown on screen in those moments, but yet the aftermath of their losses, and of course, is handled with respect. The thematic elements are the driving force, whether it's finding someone to fill where a hole is, or losing someone and trying not to let those holes show. Whether it's being more than you are expected, rising from your programming, and deciding your fate on your own. Fighting for the life you want, even if it seems like you are fighting against all odds. Being kind, even if those you are kind to would have never been as kind to you. It showcases how tragedy, how disaster, how pain, and how life can bring the most unlikely of people, or well, animals together. Every day isn't guaranteed. The path you want to walk, or are told you will walk, isn't always a clear one either. It demonstrates that the easiest outcomes aren't always the best, and instead the best outcomes are entirely what you make of them. It has its sad as well as its uplifting moments, separating the two with some comedy that lands more than it doesn't. Although the beginning of the movie, once Roz finally starts to speak, is probably my biggest gripes in terms of humor and how it is paced. So if the beginning humor, while she's trying to find who her customer was and what her task would be, turns you off a little bit, I implore you to give it a little bit longer and not give up on it so soon. The trailer was the best trailer I've seen for a movie in a very long time. It had me under the impression that there would be far less speaking though, and I do still wish that that was the outcome. It's an awesome movie nonetheless, almost a 10 out of 10, but man, there was missed potential by making it more appealing to our brain rot kids of today. If you had a more mature vibe from the trailer, I just want to make it clear that it does attempt to appeal to the largest demographic possible, even though it does take away from the artistic nature that I was expecting. I would kill to be able to make this a film with minimal dialogue, because there are only a few scenes that would have to be tailored to fit that, and others that would fit it perfectly just the way they are. Sorry I'm going off topic here. What else is there to talk about? Well, the voice acting is all pretty good. No scenes that require a ton of charisma or anything, but no complaints whatsoever either. It's pretty good for what it was. Not sure why Pedro Pascal is in everything, but to be honest, he did a pretty good job. The voices for most characters are recognizable, especially Thunderbolt, but I won't spoil who he is or who voices him because it caught me off guard in the best way possible. Kid Connor does well, with this being the best performance so far from him that I've seen, but I'm admittedly not a fan of his work, so take that with a grain of salt. Bill, crap. I don't remember his last name. I can remember a literal medical condition that he has, but not his last name. Oh well. He does pretty good here, voicing a character that has my favorite line in the entire film, and I wish he had more screen time than he did. Same wish I had when he was in the first Omen 2, but I digress. Anyway, oh frick, it's an I. That's his last name, not like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but another Bill Nye. My brain didn't let me down actually, so yeah, there we go. Anyway, last but certainly not least is the actress for Oz, which surprised me to find out is Lupita Nyong'o. She does phenomenal here and doesn't sound like herself at all, which is meant as a huge compliment, I swear. I do wish she said less at certain points, but that's not due to the voice actress at all, but the writing, so instead I credit her for being the reason that even those scenes work at the end of the day. So yeah, this is shorter than I wanted it to be, but The Wild Robot is a movie that I definitely recommend. In a world dominated by sequels or anime to take up the majority of what people want to go see when they watch animated movies in theaters, I was pleasantly surprised by how good this actually was. It didn't really push any agendas in there or force anything down your throat that you're not really gonna want to see. It didn't feel like it was trying to pander to a certain audience. It didn't feel like it was trying to put politics above the movie. It felt like a movie with a good story and good characters first and foremost. And it kinda sucks that I have to say that at the end of this to make sure that you know that this isn't some politically divisive movie, but that's the state of the world that we are currently living in, so figured it was worth pointing out in case that's something that you're worried about. It kinda feels like something I would have saw years ago instead of something that would have been made today, and I mean that in the best ways possible. Movies reminiscent of like WALL-E or Up. Movies with good themes and good elements and good plots, and they really matter and they stand on their own. We don't have a bunch of sequels of varying qualities to drag the first one down, and they're not IPs that we are milking dry, and that's kinda what this one feels like. I will say that there could be a sequel to this movie one day, but it would benefit from not having one, so it could fall into the realm of the movies that were good and then could retain that legacy, because there's no movies that have came out recently that really give me that vibe. No animated movies anyway. All we've gotten that are good are sequels or have sequels. None that have just existed and then we moved on and we think about them every once in a while. Even Inside Out, which is a movie that could have had that, has now got a sequel. A sequel that I heard was good, but a sequel nonetheless. So yeah, that's all I have to say. For more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day. Thank you.